Well, to really help us gauge the meaning of this particular development, I'm being joined by Mr. Kingshuk Hazra. He's the managing consultant at Lead Strategas. And in fact, he's one of the contributors to the Regalix report titled The State of E-Wallets and Digital Payments in India 2018. Now, Mr. Hazra, thank you so much for joining us, and a very warm welcome to you on India Ahead. If you can hear me, my first question to you is that what is the status of e-wallets in this country? You did this report this year. What were the findings? And, how does that really correlate with how e-wallets are performing now?
Thank you for having me, Vaishali. I think you asked a very pertinent question. So if you look at the e-wallet industry, the big bang growth happened in November 2016 after the demonetization. And you had Paytm off the blocks with some brilliant marketing and reach outs, which got them where they are. So the research which we did for Regalix, you got the statistics absolutely bang on. 75% of the total, so we surveyed 1,000 urban users of e-wallets across the country. And we found that 75% of them by value and by volume were using Paytm. Also, another interesting statistics was 96% of total usage of everybody, of the 1,000 people we spoke with, 960 of them had Paytm. So Paytm was a 1,000-pound gorilla, and they did that very well. Of course, one would have expected when the government e-wallet came in, one would have expected that to have significant impact on the private players, but it didn't. So that was one thing which was pretty interesting in the market. And over the last few months, we have seen a significant amount of advertising by the number 2, the number 3 players. But what you're now seeing is a sign of natural consolidation, which happens in all markets, right? Markets stumble due to free money, or there's a natural explosion, which in our case, the demonetization drove this huge growth. And the 1,000-pound gorilla of that market, Paytm, did a fantastic job in capturing that. And obviously, the others fight for whatever they can. And if you are the 46th player in the industry, you obviously don't have too much future. And consolidation is but natural. And that's where the market is today, Vaishali.
Right. Right, and we talk about consolidation there, but could it be seen as almost a stagnation that exists in the industry? And would you say that the e-wallet market has come to a stagnant point? That is definitely not good news for new entrants who might want to come, but do you believe that's the case?
See, now when you're talking about the e-wallet market in its totality, it's a huge market where the base is the nearly millions of Indians, lower middle class, upper middle class, who constitute it. Now, you have to separate the wheat from the chaff if you to look at the underlying eddies of action which happen in this market, right? So, there's a huge amount of activity happening in multiple segments of this market. For example, you have men spending nearly 1.7 times that of women. I mean, I think financial independence or the financial advantage of men being a driver for that. You have the number 2 and number 3 players having a higher average spend than Paytm, because obviously they have a smaller market share and they typically have more of the upper middle class market than the lower middle class market. So the way I would put it is that, see, it's like the telecom penetration, right? In the early days, the telecom, the percentage of the population using telecom is going to be very, very high. You are going to have 50% growth rate, 40% growth rate. But when the market penetrates over 80%, the rate of growth rate has to fall. So there's nothing to be too worried about it, if you ask me. The fun, if you ask me, is going to happen now when you have Paytm on one side, you have the number 2, number 3, number 4 players on the other side, and you have the government payment app on the other side. So these 3 players are going to, these 3 segments are going to play it out, and it's going to be a death match, if you ask me. Something like that's happening in the e-commerce market today.
Right. And that does sound interesting, what you're saying, that this match between the three important players, the most significant one. But also what matters at this point is that what does it mean for new entrants, right? Paytm is performing as it is performing, occupies 3/4 of the market share. But what does it mean for the other ones? And while we've discussed that, I want to ask you my last question, which is that while we've discussed the challenges and that some players are exiting or consolidating with other players, it's no secret that the e-wallet market is here to stay. It's a big plan of digitizing India, and it's working. We now know that data services are available in rural areas in numbers that we've never imagined. So it's definitely working, and it's here to stay. What do you see for the e-wallet market ahead?
See, I think players will have to start, other than kind of trying to be all things to all people, and they have the right to be because they have that kind of market share. Just like the Marutis in the 1990s, in the 80s or 90s, where they were the first player out there to use market share. The others have to be very, very segmented in their approach. They have to now go after certain segments which are more likely to be giving revenues to them, or they have to go after, let's say, I as a particular player, I focus only on food delivery. And I have tie-ups or I have those discounts in those areas. Whereas I'm the mobile recharge guy, I focus on that market. So market is going to segment it by population, by industry segment, maybe by geography. And remember, the whole fintech space is changing. I mean, as Jeff Bezos said sometimes very famously, your market share is, your margins are an opportunity for me. So the fintech space is consolidating. The banks are getting challenge studies, new fintech startups. The e-payment category in itself is a disruptor. It's kind of getting disrupted, but enjoy the journey ahead. And it's good for the consumer. It's good for the country.
On that positive note, I have to wrap up this conversation, but I would like to thank Mr. Kinshuk Hazra for joining us this evening. It seems that while some players might be leaving the e-wallet market, it's definitely here to stay. There's lots of opportunity. The disruption phase might be over, and now it really depends on how they can further advance and what kind of features they can bring in to make sure that they're not the ones who are pushed out of the market. On that note, it's time to wrap up this edition of the broadcast. Thanks for joining in. On the other side, all the latest from the world of sports with my colleague Avnish Hegde. Stay tuned and have a great evening.